look at the industry, it's very much a regulatory-driven industry, and that can be your friend or your foe. But for us, we've been focused on just trying to deliver returns commensurate with the growth of the industry. And for us, we believe that's been about a 30% compound annual growth rate for this space, really since we started and for the foreseeable future. You have states continuing to turn on, you have Canada going fully legal, and that's only adding further pressures to other countries around the world, really. And so we've been targeting companies across the spectrum, from plant-touching assets in Canada and the US all the way through to great ancillary technology type companies.
So Morgan, when you look at a lot of the prospectuses for these companies that have gone public recently, you see layers upon layers of regulatory risks related to regulation, not just in Canada, but in order for these companies to expand their total addressable market stateside as well. How do you look at these things? Is it a binary situation when you're trying to assess valuation, or do you believe that there are more complexities that can really be sifted through when it comes to sophisticated investors who really specialize in this space?
Yeah, and that's really the genesis of Poseidon. Was we believed that you had to understand the nuances across regulation. Each state, each county could have very, very different impacts to the scalability and growth rates for these companies, and also profit margins. If you look at states like Oregon, for example, much more of a free market, and if you look at the pricing there, it's come down considerably. Whereas a state like Massachusetts, where it still is trying to get its regulated legal market open for the first time, even though it's technically been legal for adult use since July, they haven't sold a single unit of adult use legal product yet. So prices there are much, much higher. So when we look at all of these different markets, there's a lot of assessment. We believe that boots on the ground is very important, so we spend a lot of time traveling and exploring these markets, understanding the regulations, and the people that are specifically in these markets driving their businesses forward.
I mean, Leslie, you've been digging in to the pot stock hot run and sort of the money that's flowing in behind it. What have you found?
Well, so much of the momentum surrounding these stocks right now has a lot to do with the approvals. You hear one little bit of news about approval for a clinical trial to import cannabis for medical purposes for this trial across between Canada and the US. All of a sudden you see a stock that goes up about 62% in a week. So because of this, I think investors really need to be paying attention and understand what each step of the regulatory process means for their holdings. A lot of hedge funds and investment professionals that I've spoken with really say if you want to invest in these things, you have to diversify, because there's just no way of knowing exactly how this all plays out, especially given the layers of regulation, the layers of complexity, and the fact that no one really knows what this becomes. Medical marijuana hasn't been a big market so far, not as big as most people would have expected, especially when you look at it relative to various pharmaceutical companies, as well as alcohol, tobacco, and other areas that you might expect to see more of a comparable size.